welcome back to yet another episode of Burnt Coverage, Week 12, Thanksgiving Tight End Edition. I'm Joel.
I'm Curtis.
You're you.
Hopefully. Unless there's been some kind of invasion of the body snatchers thing, and then you might not be you, and you should get help.
But you wouldn't know that if you weren't.
That's true.
You were.
That's true. If you feel something, say something.
That's what she said.
Hey, tight ends. I'm going to get into a tight end right now that I really
There
like.
it is. Get it out of the way early.
Thanks.
Also, that's what she said.
I'm going to start with an oldie but a goodie, and that's Heath Miller. 3,100 DraftKings, 5,300 FanDuel. You know the story. Heath Miller and Ben Roethlisberger have been buddies for a long time, and Heath Miller's had a lot of good games with Ben Roethlisberger there, playing against Seattle. And as we know, Seattle is the Legion of Boom. Not as good as they used to be either, but they still have the ability to shut down wide receivers when given the chance. We'll see Sherman playing one side of the field against either Antonio Brown or Martavis Bryant. I'm afraid that Martavis Bryant will be the sacrificial lamb in this game. And we will see Antonio Brown trying to do his best against Earl Thomas and the rest, Cam Chancellor, etc. But what that means is that Heath Miller is going to be wide open. Heath Miller is playing against the Seattle defense that's 30th against the tight end. People always find a way to score against the Seattle defense by way of the tight end. And here we have an actual borderline Hall of Famer tight end in Heath Miller who could actually light it up. He has had an 8-catch and a 10-catch game this year, both with Roethlisberger behind center. And so I really like Heath Miller, 3,100, 5,300 to have a decent game this week.
Heath Miller's not a Hall of Fame tight end.
Borderline. I mean, he'll get consideration. He has two rings, and he's been
anyone who
consistent his whole
retires
career.
gets consideration. Yes, of course, he'll get considered. But anyway, no, I just don't. I think that the Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger specifically do a really good job of moving Antonio Brown out into space and getting him open when he is shadowed. I would be a little more hesitant if they weren't so good about Sherman being on him. But no, I'll take Brown over Earl Thomas any day of the week. And so, no, I don't really like Heath Miller as a play this week because I think Heath Miller will be doing a lot of blocking this week. Well,
Heath Miller does a lot of blocking every week, regardless if
I know,
he
that's
has
why
2 catches or 10 catches.
That's why he's always so cheap, but I just think there are better cheap plays.
Heath Miller is the consummate professional. He does his job. He is a good blocker, and that's why he's kept in, which helps the running game.
He's a poor man's Jason Witten.
However, playing Seattle, say what you will about Seattle, it looks like my counterpart on the couch was right in saying that Seattle would have digressed a little bit this year.
Wait, can we all just take a moment and recognize that he said I was right for the first time on camera in 12 weeks?
And they still make the playoffs.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
Let's hang on here. It's nothing's written in stone.
You saying I'm right is written in stone.
However, because of various injuries and holdouts, I'm looking at you, Cam Chancellor, the Seattle ain't what they used to be either. However, they are still a good defense, and I think that the wide receivers for the Steelers have played some fairly weak opponents and found ways to exploit them. They do have, and a lot of focus is going to be put on their 2 star wide receivers. And I see Heath Miller having a good game.
Nope. I'm gonna go a little higher. I got one high end play for you guys, and I got one low end play. My high end play is gonna be very obvious. It's Delanie Walker, Tennessee Titans. He is the #1 wide receiver in tight end's body going for the Titans. Last week he caught 8 of 10 receptions for 109 yards versus Jacksonville. He is leading the Titans in receptions and catches, receptions and targets rather. Oakland is not very good in defending the pass. They actually rank 30th in pass defense. And they're really terrible against opposing tight ends as well, giving up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends as well. Delanie Walker going for 5,400 on DraftKings, 6,100 on the duel. Yes, he's a high end. I think he's the third or probably the fourth most expensive tight end on the board this week. But you're essentially getting Gronk production for tight end value.
Yeah, I love Delanie Walker, and no problems with this pick. Delanie Walker, it's kind of a weird career. He was behind Vernon Davis on the 49ers and that whole quarterback situation. And a lot of people thought he would have a good year just because of the whole rookie quarterback thing, but he's really come to his own and looked stellar this year.
Rejuvenated.
He has had some injury issues, but he's fine now. And Oakland is terrible against the tight end. I really do like this pick. I also like Gary Barnidge with Josh McCown coming back. So that's kind of a take your pick thing on that. But I'd say I know how well Barnidge has played, but I still say the safe play is probably still Delanie Walker. Really look good. I've only watched a handful of Titans games this year, which is really all you should ever watch. But every one of those games has looked good. I did watch a little bit last week too, and he looked really good, really solid in that game. So yeah.
The only thing that does worry me about this pick is because we mentioned on a previous segment is Kendall Wright will be making his first appearance back in over a month, back from the MCL injury, and Kendall Wright is a target monster. Well, at least he has been before the injury. So that worries me a little bit because I think the volume of targets that Walker's been getting just because they have no other receiving options. Now, granted, it is an MCL, so they tend to slowly integrate themselves back into the offense. But even if he takes 5 targets away, that's...
It's not going to take him just away from Delanie Walker.
No, he won't.
And he's still questionable, he might not play.
And he's still like, they know where they've scored their points, and it's through Walker. But just the mere presence worries me a little bit, but not enough to shy away from buying him, but it's just a little back of the head.
Well, and after the Titans lost to the Jaguars last week, their season's over. They needed that win to stay in contention. They're in the Cowboys win-out phase, and they didn't do it. So it might be smart for them just to rest Wright another week if there's any question behind it.
Not at all. They're playing for pride. Who do you like?
Who do I like?
Who do you love?
Are you for sure? I am for sure. It's going to be Coby Fleener this week against my fantastic, awesome Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense.
It's a top 10 defense, in case you hadn't heard.
Yeah, and you'll keep hearing it. Coby Fleener, 3,000 in DraftKings, 5,400 in FanDuel. So right around basically the same price as Heath Miller. So if you want another option in that same price range, here it is. Coby Fleener. As we know, there is a rapport between Coby Fleener and Matt Hasselbeck. He did just last game only have 3 for 45 against Atlanta. However, they were handling Atlanta pretty well. I see the Bucs giving them a bit more problem than the putrid Atlanta offense.
He did have a touchdown call back though.
He did.
No, I'm not yawning at you.
No, I know. He's just yawning in general. I don't know where the yawns are for or against me. The Bucs just gave up 9 receptions and 91 yards to tight ends for the Eagles. Good tight ends, Zach Ertz and Brent Selleck. I think Coby Fleener is still a good tight end too. Coby Fleener has had he had a 9-catch game with Hasselbeck earlier in the year. I see the Bucs defense putting a lot of focus on T.Y. Hilton with Alteron Werner. And then Moncrief really has fallen off a lot. And then the running game has been non-existent against Bucs teams for the most part. So yeah, I like Fleener to get quite a few targets. Probably be their de facto running game. I see around probably 6 for 50, and hopefully he'll get into the end zone too for you.
No, I like Fleener a lot this week. I liked him a lot last week. He was a bit disappointing. But no, I think with Hasselbeck, I think he's a very strong play. But I have a better play.
Oh, do you, Joel?
For even cheaper than... How much was he?
You know I like a cheap tight end, 3,000. 3,000 DraftKings.
3,000 DraftKings, 5,400 on the duel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so for 3,000 on DraftKings and 5,200 on the duel, I'm going to give you Vernon Davis. Yeah, we're going with the old San Francisco 49er tandem, tight end tandem. So they're playing, the Broncos have the Patriots this week. Very tough matchup, very big game. It'll be a good game to watch. Last week with new quarterback Brock, the headband Osweiler, he went 6 for 6 for 68 yards, and he was second on the team in targets to none other than Demaryius Thomas. You know how I feel about young quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks and their tight ends. They are best friends and their biggest safety net. And Vernon Davis has proved me right last week, and he's really starting to get acclimated into this Denver offense now. And I really think this is going to start to be the focal point of this Denver offense because Osweiler, as my counterpart will point out, does have a big arm, but I think it's a comfort level of, you really, like, Denver is playing for something here. This is a big statement game against the heralded big bad New England Patriots. And I think it'll be more about proving his worth in the league as just trying to get a win. And you get wins with short passes to tight ends and your running backs. And yeah, so this is, Vernon Davis has been, we all know his struggles in San Francisco. He was on and off, but I really think we're starting to see the good Vernon Davis now. And I really think that he's going to be this way through the end of the year. And for the dirt cheap prices, bottom basement prices, you can't beat it. And, you know, nothing says Thanksgiving than sitting back and enjoying a good VD.
Hey. Well, I like catching VD as much as any other guy.
Especially on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, you only pay for it afterwards.
On this one, you have to pay first, though.
Interesting thing about New England, we brought this up before in some scale, but Belichick loves to cut out your number one option, whether running back or receiver.
But Vernon Davis is not their number one option.
Exactly my point. And so that is probably, if I had to say who's the number one guy, I would say it's Demaryius
Thomas.
I think Sanders could have a decent game.
If he
plays, throw that out there too. But I don't think that hurts Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis is certainly going to get his targets. What he can do with them is a different story. Nothing against Vernon Davis here. I'm just saying it's still a decent Patriots defense. Jamie Collins has been out. I don't know if he's going to be back. Jamie Collins is probably one of the most undervalued or underreported defensive players in the league. Just a physical freak. If he's back, that will put a little.
Well, New England also does quietly have the highest scoring defense in the league as well.
Interesting, yeah. So, young quarterback, yes, Leonard's tight end. He does have the big arm, but I see that negated. Malcolm Butler's been a pleasant surprise. And we see week in and week out. The Patriots love to take away the number one option. Sammy Watkins was relegated to next to nothing. On Monday night, he had one spectacular catch, but the Tyrod Taylor show ain't what it used to be.
Sammy Watkins overrated.
That's for a different show, but Vernon Davis a good pick, right around the same price level as the Heath Millers and Fleeners, and so play who you want in that level. We gave you a few options. I hope it works out for you. I think they all have their upsides here. Vernon Davis certainly showed last week that he can play in this offense. And lest we forget, Brock Osweiler was kind of bred into an offense that did focus on the tight end. Peyton loves his tight ends, and he loved when he had Julius Thomas there healthy, and Brock Osweiler was there during that time. So, and we saw a little bit of that last week. So
Brock knows the value of a good tight end.
Hey. And any guy that wears a headband has been...
A man band?
A man band?
A man band. Brock the man band Osweiler.
Ooh. We'll work on it.
Make it stick. Come on, people, help me.
It'll make it stick right to that tight end for you, too.
Hey.
On that note. I think I'm done with this tight ends. Gotten a little loose. I'm Curtis.
I'm Joel.
And we hope to see you next week if we haven't disgusted you too much.
But if we have, that's more reason
Come back for more! on the couch.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.